Do you want to know the perfect hip flexor stretch? Stretching your hip flexors may seem simple, but chances are high you're probably making these 3 super common mistakes, which is why your hip flexors still feel like they're made of steel and your low back and hip pain has stayed 6 months past their welcome and they're ready for an eviction notice. But hip flexors are easily one of the most common muscles blamed for low back pain, yet you are still stretching and stretching without an end in sight. So I want to help you start to do this the right way so you can fix those hip flexors faster and reduce your pain faster too. My name is Dr. Grant Elliott, and we've helped thousands with back pain and sciatica fully recover through our one-on-one online coaching program. And in this episode, I'm going to teach you how to perform the perfect hip flexor stretch by fixing these 3 common mistakes. So check this out. Here's this video of me doing a simple hip flexor stretch, but I want you to analyze this a second and see if you can spot the mistakes. Go. Let's see if you guess the first thing that I'm going to point out. My low back is overextended throughout this movement. Now, without context, there's nothing wrong with moving your low back into extension. This is a natural movement, no issue, but in the context of trying to isolate your hip flexor, it is not ideal. The reason this is probably happening to you is because of 2 things. To understand the first one, we need to look at the anatomy of the hip flexor. The hip flexor is made up of 5 muscles: rectus femoris, iliacus, pectineus, psoas, and sartorius. The most popular of these being the psoas, referred to in most instances of tightness or pain. This muscle attaches from the transverse processes of the L1 to L5 vertebra to the lesser trochanter of the femur. So when the psoas or other hip flexors are tight or contracted, it can pull the low back into extension. This can many times be seen during a hip flexor stretch, as the low back will naturally be pulled into extension if not controlled. Now, there is nothing inherently wrong with this, but if excessive, could tell us these tissues are tight. And the second reason this could occur is due to lack of control in your pelvis during this stretch. So that's the first mistake, too much extension in the low back. And I'm going to show you how to fix each of these mistakes after we go over all 3. Now, the second mistake, watch again and see if you can see it. Were you looking at my butt? If so, you're correct. I was not contracting my glute. Busted. But here's why this is a big mistake. Because if you aren't contracting your glute during a hip flexor stretch, you will get less of a stretch in your hip flexor. Contracting your glute helps to posteriorly tilt your pelvis. This automatically puts your hip flexor in a greater stretched position to get more out of it. It also helps you avoid extending through the lower back, which will help you get a better stretch to the hip flexor too.
Hey, real quick, I know you're struggling with pain and obviously want to fix it. So if you just text me the word pain to 317-751-9509, I will send you my free back pain fix demo. Just text that number and you can fix your pain. Thank me later. Back to the show.
Okay, now last mistake. You got one more shot. Can you see it? Think you got it? I'm not contracting my core. If I'm not contracting my core and bringing my rib cage down, then I am allowing extra extension through my low back as well, therefore reducing the stretch on my hip flexor. And this also assists in posteriorly tilting the pelvis, which once again, if missing in these stretches, will reduce the effectiveness. So we got all 3 mistakes: low back overextended, glutes not contracting, core not engaged. Now, all of these things can be fixed at the same time, and then I'm going to tell you a little secret after. What you need to do is, before lunging into this stretch, think about pulling your rib cage down while contracting your glute, and maintain lumbar rigidity as you lunge forward into the movement, increasing the stretch to ensure you're not compensating through the low back. This will effectively help you maintain a posterior tilt so you can get the most out of the stretch. And this can be applied to any type of hip flexor stretch. But there is one more secret to this simple yet effective tip. It is true. This tip can help you achieve the perfect hip flexor stretch. But the secret is that even if you perfect it, chances are high it might still feel tight. Now, why would this happen, and why would I take the time to teach you how to do a better stretch? Well, the reason is because you still need to know effective mobilizations for these muscles and joints. But when it comes to the hip flexors, often they're tight because they're weak. So they need both a proper mobilization stretch and a strengthening movement. There are many strengthening movements to choose from. You could simply put a weight on your foot and raise your leg. You can sit on the ground with a straight leg and raise it up. You could perform a hip flexor raise off the edge of the bench. There are many ways, and the strengthening component is what will actually help the stretch last. But there is still more. Yes, there is more. You know how to perfect your hip flexor stretch. You know how to follow it up with strength movements so it doesn't come back, but What if the hip flexor isn't the only reason for your back or sciatica pain? What if it's just one piece of your specific puzzle? How do you determine what other essential movements need to be part of your plan so you can finally get pain-free? This one thing can help you determine the exact exercises specific for your situation. It's called my centralization process, and it's helped thousands of people achieve an average of 37% reduction in their pain within 5 to 10 minutes. So you don't have to keep stretching your hip flexor for the next 2 years just waiting for your back pain to go away, but so you can identify the proper plan for you. And all you have to do is just text me the word pain to 317-751-9509 to get a tailored step-by-step plan to permanently fix your back or sciatica issues using our centralization process. Do it right now so you don't miss this opportunity to finally fix your pain and live the life you deserve. And after you do that, please like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, join my private Facebook group, RehabFix Low Back Program, for more free content, resources, and guides. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one, and I'll see those of you who are serious real soon.